How we doing today, guys? Today we're going to be making a yeast starter. What's a yeast starter? Yeast starter is just basically a small batch of beer that you dump in your vial of yeast just so they start multiplying. So you can dump them into your actual beer on brew day. First things first, we got to make sure we have enough yeast, enough viable cells. So I have a BrewSmith open. Great software, and what you do is you punch in the age of the vial. Usually on the vial it'll give you a date. Rule of thumb with White Labs is to subtract 4 months. So mine is, it says September of this year, so it's basically manufactured in May. So throwing that into BeerSmith, I need about 212 billion yeast cells. Now if I didn't make a starter, I'd only have 96 billion. So I'm going to make a starter of about 2.5 quarts, which would give me about 220 billion cells, which is plenty. The reason you make a starter also is so that you don't underpitch. You don't want to underpitch because you'll get off flavors. You don't want those yeast to be stressed out, and stressing them out will give you all those off flavors, the gross flavors that you don't want to taste. So now that we got everything we need, what I did, I found a site to calculate how much I need for how much dry malt extract I need. So punching in some numbers, I want to shoot for a 1040 specific gravity. My starting gravity of my actual beer is going to be 1061. So you always want to have it a little under, because you want to have the yeast multiplying but not actually fermenting. So you're just basically making a mini beer to have the yeast munch on it and just double and double and double until you get to a couple 220 billion in this case. So I need about it says about 2.2 cups of dry malt extract. So now that I got all my numbers, I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready, get everything measured up, and then I will see you back then. Alright, I got my DME and I got my water all measured out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to warm up the water just enough so I can dissolve the DME in it. I don't want to start it boiling yet because I want to get a reading before I start boiling, just to see where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and mix in the dry malt, and then we'll see where I'm at. So just stir it just like you would any beer, any extract beer you've made before. Make sure you get all the clumps out. This beer, we're going to be brewing a Ruthless RYE clone. I'm drinking some now. It's pretty damn good too. Once you get it warm enough, right now it's almost at 100 degrees. Get all these clumps out. It might take a little longer because it's not hot enough. Make sure you get them all out as best as you can. Cold water in the sink just so I can get down the temperature. Alright, I think we're about there. Can't see more clumps. So I'm going to get my hydrometer. Go ahead and get some this is going to boil, so you don't have to worry about sanitation yet. I mean, if you're really anal about it, you could, but it's all going to get boiled. Just going to try to cool this down a bit so I can get an accurate reading. I just have my sitting in some cold water. Just want to get it down as low as I can so you can get a really good accurate reading. I'm gonna cool this down, and when I get it cooled and get a reading, I'll come back and show you guys. All right, I got it cooled down to about 70, a little below 70 degrees, and as you can see, we are right on the money. Maybe a little more, which is okay because we'll have a little bit of boil off. Let's see if I can get this up to the camera without a little focus on. Yeah, it's kind of tough holding it, but yeah, we're probably 141, which is all right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get this baby boiling. Gonna let it boil for about 15 minutes. And once that starts boiling, I'll come in at the end of the boil and show you what you got to do next. Alright, I'll see you guys in about 15-20 minutes. Alright, so before I tell you what I did, I first wanted to correct myself from the last time. Once you start boiling, you're actually going to gain points, specific gravity points. So you want to have it a little bit lower than 1040, which is what I wanted to have my starter at. So I actually added a couple cups of water, which brought me down to about 1038. So now it should be somewhere around there with, you know, a 15-minute boil, you know, out of a pot. You're not going to get much boil off, but it should put me right where I need to be. So now, with that said, what I did is after 15-20 minutes of boiling, I took it and cooled it down to about 70 degrees, a little bit under, in an ice bath in the sink. I just put it in the sink, stirred it till it got down. It took about 15-20 minutes. So now what I have in my growler is I have some Star San, which I'm just going to dump out into a spray bottle, which I could use later. So I'm just going to dump this out. It's been sitting. Star San's been sitting in it the entire time I've been making it, so it should be nice and sanitized. I'm just going to keep this for later use. And I'll also sanitize my funnel. I'm just going to dump this down. I'm going to take our starter and as gently as I can pour it into my growler. Now, since I don't have a stir plate, I'm just going to put the cap on and give it a shake to aerate. cap was sanitized. Everything now is sanitized because we're after the boil. Alright, just gonna leave that cap on for right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get my yeast. And for my yeast, I am using, let's see here. Some White Labs California Ale, which is WLP 01. So I'm just gonna give it a shake, get all the yeast that was down at the bottom. Take the cap off. I'll get that ready. Just get all the yeast in there. Now I took it out of the refrigerator before I started, so it would come to room temperature. So I'm just gonna crack the top and dump it in. Make sure they all get in there. Just clean up any of the mess. Now I don't want to put the cap back on, so I'm just going to put some tin foil over it. Give it some spray with some sanitizer. Over the top gently. And now I will let it sit in my fermenter at about 70 degrees or so, a little bit under, for about 2 or 3 days. I'm brewing, today's Thursday, I'm brewing Sunday. So Saturday night I will take it out of my fermentation chamber and put it into the fridge to cold crash it. So that way we get a nice layer of shrub and everything settles. So that way I could decant off the top of the wort and just leave a little bit in, swirl it, and then dump it into my carboy once I'm ready. So that's pretty much it. I'll be videoing Sunday so you can see how the brew day goes. But if there's any questions, leave a comment, ask away.